As both sides in northern and southern Sudan strive to cement peace in the country, a conflict over an oil-rich region is threatening the agreement that ended Africa's longest civil war. Could both sides reach common ground? And what does the future hold for North and South? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Imran Garda. Welcome to the special edition of Inside Story from Khartoum, Sudan. 3 years ago, the government of Sudan and the SPLM, that's the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, signed a historic agreement that ended a bitter civil war in Africa's biggest country. However, recent clashes in oil-rich Abeyi have threatened the implementation of that peace. You see, Abeyi is wedged right in between the north and the south of Sudan. Many believe if Abeyi is resolved, this could lead to an overall peace in all of Sudan. However, if it's not, the ramifications are dire, as Rawya Ragi explains.
Size-wise, it's merely a dot amidst Sudan's vast swathes of land. But Abeyi's worth lies beneath the earth, pools of untapped oil resources. The area is at the heart of the conflict between Khartoum and its partners in the government, the former rebel group from the south known as the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. The North and South signed a landmark peace deal in 2005, ending Africa's longest civil war. The fate of Abeyi remained in question. It lies on exactly the de facto border between the North and South and is home to a mix of Arab and African tribes. Following the agreement, a committee of foreign experts decided on a controversial demarcation between the two sides, one staunchly rejected by Khartoum. The southern SPLM and the ruling party indulged in squabbles over the area. This is on the ground. Clashes between the Arab Misiriya tribe and the African Dinka have renewed in bouts of deadly violence. Their classic fight between herders and settlers is as old as their land, a conflict predating the discovery of oil. Last month, what appears to be a trivial individual quarrel escalated into a full-fledged confrontation between the SPLM's armed wing and the military. Many say it was simply a time bomb waiting to explode. The carnage harked back to images of the bitter civil war, Abeyi turning into a ghost town. A 2011 referendum stipulated in the peace treaty could give the African ethnic South the chance to secede, perhaps even annexing Abeyi. For now, the impoverished people of Abeyi are not cashing in on its much-acclaimed wealth. They continue to lead an austere life, waiting for their fate to be decided. Rawya Ragi for Inside Story.
Well, joining us to discuss this issue in Khartoum are our guests. Tayyib Zain al-Abidin, Professor of Political Science at the University of Khartoum and a regular contributor to newspapers. Yasser Arman, he's the Deputy Secretary General of the Sudan's People's Liberation Movement, and Abdurrahman Ibrahim Al-Khalifa, an advocate and Associate Professor of Law at the University of Khartoum. Welcome, gentlemen. Mr. Al-Khalifa, if I could start off with you first, sir.
Most welcome.
Abeyi, would you consider it a litmus test for North-South peace?
Well, I think the issue of Abeyi, because it came at a later stage where people were negotiating, and it came in a form of principles proposed by Senator Danforth and was accepted by the late John Garang and Al Osman Muhammad Taha. That was March 2004, and then it was incorporated in the body of the agreement 2004, the same year in July.
But so is Abeyi at the heart of the issue?
It is at the heart of the issue now. It is at the heart of the issue. It was not then at the heart of the issue. But now it is at the heart of the issue because it remained. I just made this introduction to say that other issues were kind of settled one way or another. yet Abeyi remained suspended and it remained lagging behind. That's why it became a bone of contention, and it became a point of great tension between the two parties to the agreement.
Well, talking about that great tension, Yasser Arman, what's the major grievance of the people in the south and those in the south of Abeyi? Is it mainly an economic issue?
Well, it is more than that. It is a complexity of many factors, history, political, socio-economical, cultural grievances. Abeyi in particular, we had a protocol on Abeyi. It is only a protocol in the agreement which is zero implemented. And we had agreed early on that during the pre-interim period we should determine the border. The two parties agreed, and we had chosen a committee of experts. Its decision was final and binding. They gave a report, and this report was controversial. The SPLM agreed to be final and binding. The National Congress rejected that. And this is the heart of the problem.
Why did Omar al-Bashir reject this Abeyi Boundaries Commission report?
Well, it is the National Congress to be asked to answer this question, but in my opinion, the National Congress, they did agree that on the procedure and terms of reference of choosing the committee, and we were surprised after the committee gave its report, that report was rejected.
Let's bring in Tayyib Zain al-Abidin. Why do you think the report was rejected, and we've had so much tension in recent time over Abeyi?
The question of Abeyi from the beginning was very problematic. This is why the two parties accepted this proposal from the American envoy to settle in the way it has been settled in the protocol. The National Congress argued, I think logically, that the team of experts were asked to define the borders, which was the district of Abeyi, which was annexed to Kordofan. This is a northern state in 1905. But the team of experts said very clearly in their report that they could not decide the borders of 1905. So they went on to find out where the different tribes were living, and they decided that the southern population were living in 1965 in this area, and this is a very long area which people thought it came well into the northern part of Sudan, and they decided that should be the borders. So the National Congress argued that this is not your terms of reference. Your term of reference is to decide what part was annexed to Kordofan in 1905, and you are giving us the condition of population in 1965.
Yasser Arman, do you want to respond to that?
Well, I don't think that is accurate, because the terms of reference of those experts is to specify where the 9 chieftains of Dinka Nok of Abeyi, where are they exactly, where is their border, where are they settling. 1905, it is just a date where Abeyi has been shifted administration from the south to the north. But I believe the experts, they did their best. What they did, they said this area for sure, the Dinka Ngok, they have the right and they are settling here in this particular area. There is a blue line which they determine where the Ngok are, and then there is another area which is contested area. Also they specify the contested area. The most important things, both parties, they agreed that the expert, when they submit their report, it is final and binding, and that is very clear in terms of law and politics.
So how much of Abeyi does the SPLM actually want? Does it want all of it?
Well, the SPLA, it is not what the SPLM wants. It's what Dink and Ngok, the inhabitants of this area wants. It's what the agreement said. That's what is important, because the agreement all is problematic, it is difficult, and the concession in the agreements are known. It is not easy to be accepted, but making peace is always difficult, even than war.
Ibrahim Abdurrahman
Incidentally,
Ibrahim
by
Al
the
Khalifa,
way-
just a question on oil, because oil is also central to this issue. Do you think that oil is a blessing or a burden for the people of Abeyi?
Well, I believe it's a blessing for everybody, because it's supposed to enhance our lives as Sudanese people. But please, I request to go back to the question, because this is it's a pivotal issue. This issue of the experts report. I think there is a confusion here, and at times the confusion is rather deliberate. There is what you call the commission for the boundaries, and then there is the committee of the experts. The committee is a kind of sub-formation of the commission. So the experts, they had a certain mandate. They went beyond their mandate. And I mean, when somebody assigns you and give you a certain assignment and you go beyond it, then you render the whole issue as invalid, and it will not be accepted.
Or is it rather just a case of the commission reporting back what you didn't want to hear?
It was supposed to report back to the commission, and then the commission should report back to the presidency. That never took place. They never reported to the commission. They took the report right to the presidency. And when the late John Garang presented the thing at the presidency, the president told him right away, this is not acceptable for us. And since then, the problems started to develop.
It's interesting that you mentioned the late John Garang. Yasser Arman, if John Garang were alive today, how different would the entire peace process be?
Well, this is very difficult to answer these questions, and it's very difficult to go in a lot of assumptions. Dr. John Garang was a very distinguished leader, a thinker of his own, and definitely if he were to be alive, he could have contributed a lot to the peace process, to Sudan, and even to the region. And but yet, Dr. John Garang, in his first visit to Khartoum, when he returned back to Khartoum, he was saying, this peace does not belong to me or Bashir. This peace belongs to Sudanese people. It is an agreement that is not connected with individual. It is a peace that been done by thousands of people, by a lot of effort. And Dr. Garang was one of the leaders who did this peace, but I believe it is Dr. Garang himself was setting and was very clear on that it is the peoples to decide on the peace.
Tayyib Zain al-Abidin, 2011 is a big year for all of Sudan, but particularly the people of the south. Is there a general expectation that Sudan will be partitioned in that year?
Till recently, I would say that Sudan will be separated into states because the experience of many countries in Africa or in Europe, when people were asked to self-determination, they would like to have their own state. And when you have problems and civil war for a long time, as we had between the north and the south, so the inclination, the normal inclination is we have our own state. We are different ethnically, we are different religiously, we are different linguistically, we are different culturally, so we should have our own state. And during this long civil war, some bitterness and some unjust practices took place. So the normal inclination is to have separate two states. But and I thought the major political parties in the south, including the SPLM, would like to have a separate south. But recently, I would say, in the last 1 year or so, I started to hear that there is a very strong or emerging feeling among the leadership of SPLM that they would like to make Sudan remain as one unit.
So let's pose that to the leadership of the SPLM.
Well, this is not new. The SPLM, since its anticipations, it is now 25 years, quarter of a century, is struggling for a new Sudan, a new Sudan of a new political dispensations, a new Sudan that the unity will be on a new basis. And this is the gist of the matter. Whether the unity, if we need unity, then we should look for a new basis. We should look for a new arrangement. The old arrangement are exhausted, are no longer fitting, and Sudan can only be united when it is new.
Abdurrahman Ibrahim Al Khalifa, would you agree with that? Unity only under a new arrangement, but if things are as they are at the moment, then the South needs to be a separate state.
I believe it's up to the people of the South to decide whether they want to be part of the Sudan or separate. But I don't believe they have the right to impose the kind of unity that Sudan should embark on. This is their own program. If they can sell it politically to the people of Sudan, it's most welcome. But otherwise, a lot of people cannot understand, others cannot swallow the idea of having a new Sudan.
But it is a referendum. It's going to be a referendum. In the referendum, do you wholeheartedly expect the people of the South to vote for secession?
I don't think so. I believe against all odds that they will vote for the unity of the Sudan. And incidentally, by the way, there are people who were given the chance to have a referendum and they did not opt for separation, with all due respect to our professor, like the party Québécois in Canada. They were given twice the chance to get into a referendum, and they opted for unity.
Yasser Arman, you're shaking your head.
Well, I think it is more than that. When we are talking about making unity attractive, that first of all, this is in the agreement. It is not the SPLM program. It is the agreement which is saying that the unity should be made attractive. Why it should be made attractive? Because the old unity of Sudan, it has resulted in a war for 37 years. And that can make for anybody, can indicate very clearly the old unity, it is unity of war, it is unity of operations, it is unity of differences, it is unity that does not reflect and respect the diversity of the country, the historical diversity and the present diversity, because Sudan is a country of more than 570 different nationality, tribe, ethnic group. It's a country of more than 130 languages. So it is a country which needs a special arrangement for its people to come together.
You're saying it's inevitable. Is it inevitable without any bloodshed?
Well, what I'm saying if you need unity, you have to work for it. And if you don't work for it, and if you then don't make unity attractive, if you do not address the injustice of the past, then definitely you are looking for separation. Separation, it is an outcome of what we can do today. It is the result of what we are doing today.
Tayyib Zain al-Abidin, the last time the people of Sudan, the north and the south, tasted civil war, it affected an entire generation. Over 2 million people are estimated to have died. Do you think that can there be a guarantee that that will never happen again?
You cannot, there is 100% guarantee that will never happen again, but definitely the experience of the war, everybody now in Sudan, all political forces accept that we are not going to impose unity on the southern Sudan. This is accepted now by all political parties. This was not the situation, I mean, in the 50s or in the 60s. Everybody wants to unite the country, whatever the cost is. But now people accept that we should not impose unity, especially on southern Sudan. So they have the right, and this is why the Nifasha agreement gave them the right of self-determination. This is not a usual thing which a unified state will give to a part of its own country. But it is done because of that long experience of civil war. but commenting on the point of will we have new foundation. Already Nefasha put new foundation for the ruling of Sudan. So we are now living a new situation. It's not the old Sudan. And this is why the SPLM accepted this national comprehensive peace agreement on this basis, because it addressed most of their grievances.
But there's a difference between an agreement and the actual implementation
Yeah.
of an agreement.
With the exception of Abeyi, I mean, the implementation was excellent, really. I mean, it's not 100% yet, but it was excellent. And the SPLM was accepting it. But the only problematic issue was Abeyi. And if they have agreed to it, as I heard that recently they have reached an agreement on that, I think that should settle the problem.
Abdurrahman Ibrahim Al Khalifa, when we talk of a lasting peace in Sudan, do you think that a North-South comprehensive agreement and implementation of that agreement could trigger peace in other areas of Sudan, for example, in Darfur?
Logically, yes. But by the way, Sudanese politics at times work in its own way. At the time when we were still negotiating, or rather concluding the comprehensive peace agreement at Nefasha, something was going on in Darfur. And certain circles that were involved in the peace process there were also trying to trigger war in Darfur. That's why I was saying logically it could have been so.
But practically,
but
you're
these factors
pessimistic.
coming into play, it's becoming a bit different, because now in Darfur is becoming, I mean, a kind of an American domestic political issue. It's becoming, I mean, now an issue at the hands of some lobbies and pressure groups in Europe and United States of America, and the regional, here some regional factors are coming into play, some of our neighbors, and it's becoming a bit complicated. But despite of all these facts, I think Nefasha has already set an example of a good peace agreement. And if both parties, and the SPLM and the National Congress Party, and by the way, when we say we make national unity attractive, it's not our liability as a National Party to make it attractive. It's also their responsibility to make it attractive as well.
It's also your responsibility.
It takes two to tango.
Okay, it takes two to tango. We don't have too much time left on the program. Yasser Arman, what's the price of failure?
Well, the price is great, and nobody can envisage the price of the failure right now, because Sudan is a country well connected. If the south goes, then other part may goes too. You never know how many states are going to be in Sudan. We have to pull our effort to one direction, that to have a new Sudan, a Sudan that belongs to its people, a Sudan that in it that the Sudanese, before they become Arab or African, Muslim or Christians, they have to become Sudanese in the first place, with states that cater for social justice.
Gentlemen, it's been a fascinating debate. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. It's been intriguing hearing all your thoughts, and we could go on all night. Tayyib Zain Al-Abidin, Yasser Arman and Abdurrahman Ibrahim Al Khalifa, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us here on Inside Story. And thank you so much, the viewer, for watching us here on Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments and suggestions. Email them to us. InsideStory@aljazeera.net is the address. Bye-bye for now.